Good morning, everyone. While we're waiting, I'll do a little bit of the introduction. Welcome to class 1 of exercising with poles, specifically walking poles, which I'll go over in a moment. My name is Shelly, and I'm a physiotherapist here at the Society. And I have my activator certification from Urban Polling, so hence why I'm running this class today. It's a new addition to our exercise classes. Although we did have someone from Urban Polling do a exercising with walking poles series for us back in 2020. So hopefully, I see more people in the waiting room. Let me just let everyone in. So hopefully this will be an enjoyable class for everyone, and it is our level 1 class, which means that all levels are welcome, and the class will be pretty slow paced for anyone who is new to exercising today. It's a nice gentle way to get your body moving. So before we get started today, let's talk about walking poles that you might be using. So I've got my activator poles here today, but of course you can use any walking poles you've got at home, hiking poles. Sometimes people use ski poles, which is totally fine too. Just watch out with your ski poles. They have those pointy ends, and I just don't want you to scratch up your floor or ruin your carpet. So maybe just be a little mindful of that. But you will need a pair of poles. If you don't have walking poles available, you can maybe use a long umbrella or 2 of them to hold on to. So you definitely need something to hold on to in each hand. But ideally, walking poles would be good because you do want something that has a decent handle for you to grip onto. Now, the way the class is going to run is we are going to start in a seated position to warm ourselves up and get us kind of used to moving with the poles. And then after that, we'll move into a standing position. And that's going to be the same structure we'll use every week so that we have the opportunity to do both seated and standing exercises. And so with that said, the length of the pole will vary slightly. When we are measuring our poles up, what we do want, if I turn sideways for a second, I know I'm sitting on the floor, so ignore my legs, but I'm going to turn sideways. And when you're holding onto your poles, you ideally want your elbow to be around 90 degrees. That might change a little bit when you're actually walking, but for the purpose of the class, for our exercises today, we want to make sure our elbow is around 90 degrees. And so you can imagine when you're sitting down, your poles are probably going to be a little shorter because as you're sitting, you're not going to. So when I'm sitting and standing, can you see my elbow is very different in terms of the angle? So when you're sitting down, you want it to be around 90 degrees. And then when we stand up later, we can always adjust our poles and get them slightly higher for the remainder of the class. And that way we can make sure we're not increasing risk for any injuries of our wrists and shoulders and things like that. But I will give some modifications as we do our class today in case anyone does have any shoulders or any issues that you might want to limit some of the range of movements that we do today. But what I really like about exercising with walking poles is, first things, you probably notice that your posture gets a little bit better when you're moving with your walking poles because you have something to kind of press down into. And so you'll find that you're automatically going to be standing up a little straighter, and it might make you feel more confident in general because you've got something to hold on to as you're moving. And so I do invite you to explore how your body feels as we're doing our class today, and see how your body moves perhaps a little differently when you have these poles with you. And hopefully you can use these poles to continue exercising and walking and even after our class. Okay, I think I see most people connected to audio now. For those who have just connected, you don't have to listen to my spiel, but I will mention it more as we do the class. Okay, I'm going to have a sit down in my chair. I'm actually going to bring my poles down just a little bit. So, like I mentioned, we want our poles to be at a height where our elbow is roughly around 9 degrees. So this is the lowest setting my pole will go. Well, this is actually the wrong hand, but anyway, you get the idea. This is the lowest it will go, which is okay. But when I stand up, can you see that now it's a bit too low and I'm getting too much of that kind of movement in my wrist? And so when we stand up in a moment, I will lift it up higher. Okay, let me move over a little bit so I'm in the center of your screen. So let's start with a bit of a warm up. We're going to start sitting in our chairs. Now, if we turn sideways for a second, you can see that as I'm sitting in my chair, what I don't want to do is I don't want my bottom back here and my back leaning into the chair. Because in this position, it's actually very difficult for us to engage our trunk and our limbs to move. And so we want to be in a more activated position. So I want to use my tummy muscles and I want to sit myself upright over my sitting bones. And I want to move my bottom forward in the seat as well. So that way I have lots of room to actually get my hips moving versus if I'm back here, my thigh is already on the seat. And so it's really hard for me to try to lift my legs and move them even further. And so I want to make sure I'm sitting upright and at the front of my seat. So I'm nice and activated, nice and ready for exercise today. I'll turn back to face you again. Now, depending on the poles that you're using, my poles being the activator poles, it's got a little ledge under the handle that I can kind of rest my the outer parts of my hand on. And so if you don't have that, just make sure you're gripping on and you're not letting go because your poles will fall. But what we're going to start with here is we're just going to start by grounding ourselves. So I want you to wiggle your toes a couple of times and really feel the connection of the soles of your feet into the ground. And it's almost like you're pressing all 10 toes and pressing the soles of your feet deep into the earth as if you're growing roots into the ground. And in this position, while maintaining that grounding in the floor through the soles of our feet, we're going to gently press down with our hands into the poles, hands into the floor as well. And so you kind of want to feel this 4-point grounding, if you will, the 2 poles on the floor and your feet on the floor. And all 4 points here pressing deep into the earth as if you're growing roots. And you'll probably notice as I'm doing this, my shoulders are not up against my ears. In fact, I'm pressing the entire length of my arms down into the floor, not just the hands, but the entire length of my arms down towards the floor, such that I'm lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the neck. We're going to hold this grounding position and just breathe. I'm going to let someone in from the waiting room, but you keep going, grounding ourselves into the floor with all 4 points. And we're just breathing here. As we breathe in and out, we're going to maintain our connection to the floor. Thinking about the soles of our feet, growing roots deep into the earth, and our entire arms pressing down towards the ground as if gravity is extra heavy on us today. And from here, we're going to bring the poles in together, a little closer in between our feet. We're maintaining this 4-point grounding, and we're going to start by just moving our poles forward and back. So you'll notice my poles are in between my feet. I want it to be a little more narrow. So we don't want the poles to be out here. We want them to be in between our feet. And we're going to continue on with our grounding. We're pedaling our poles forward and back. We're not lifting it. We're still pressing down into the floor, growing roots into the floor through the soles of our feet. And pressing our entire length of the arms down towards the floor as if gravity is extra heavy today. Those poles connecting to the floor. Breathing as we're doing this. And now we're going to bring the poles a little bit wider, just to the outside of your feet, and we're going to do the same. Thinking about that grounding, pressing all 10 toes and both soles of the feet deep into the earth, as if we're growing roots. Pressing the entire length of the arms down towards the floor, as if gravity is extra heavy today. Extending and pulling back with the arms. Long necks. Breathing. Bring the poles together one more time. This time as close as you can get them. And if you're comfortable, you can lace your fingers together such that you're holding both poles with your hands. If you're not comfortable with that, you can have them separate. It's up to you. But what we're going to do here is we're going to lean forward and press the poles forward. And then we're going to come back up to seated. I'm going to turn side so you can feel them. Nice long spine. I'm pressing the poles forward and I'm coming back up. I'm rocking in this position as if I'm rocking my pelvis forward and back in the seat. Breathing as you're doing this. Reaching away. And as we're moving through this movement, we are still maintaining our 4-point grounding. All 10 toes, both soles of the feet, still pressing into the ground, growing roots into the earth. Our arms are still pressing down towards the ground. The 2 points of our poles are still digging into the earth as we're doing this. Nicely done, everyone. Nice long backs, long necks. On the next one, we're going to hold this forward stretch position, holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to circle the poles away to sit back up. Again, leaning forward, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, circling the poles to come back up. Pressing forward, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, circling the poles to come back up. Keep going. I'm going to try to face you. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big circles to come back up. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Circling to come back up. And we'll keep going with this movement, this time without the hold. We're thinking about pressing the poles down into the floor still the entire time you're doing this. So you don't want your poles to start lifting and moving because we're pressing. We're still grounding through those 4 points we talked about earlier. We're pressing our poles, our arms down towards the earth as we're doing the stretch and the circle. Nice big movement if you can. Nice big movement. It's almost like you're drawing a symmetrical circle, both sides even, pressing down into the ground as we're circling. So what we don't want is for us to lift the poles or move them other than down towards the floor. So you're really thinking about that point underneath your pole. It's almost like you're digging a little hole in the sand on the floor. 2 more. Big stretch forward, big circle back. Big stretch forward. Big circle back. Nicely done. Now we're going to hold our handles together again with both of our hands if you're comfortable. If not, you can have them separate, but we want the poles together. And in the spirit of Halloween, we're going to think about drawing a big circle as if we're stirring a big cauldron. So both arms together this time. Now we're drawing a big circle on the ground, and as we do this, just like before, we're thinking about our 4-point grounding. We don't want to be lifting our feet up off the floor, don't want to be lifting the poles up off the floor. You're thinking about the soles of your feet. So pressing deep into the ground, and the 2 poles pressing deep into the ground because your arms are heavy towards the floor. Breathing as we do this, and you'll notice that your trunk will go with you as you're doing this big circle. You're doing a big weight shift in your seat, letting your chest, your trunk, your spine follow you as you draw this big circle. Nicely done, everyone. Let's see if we can go the other direction now. So same thing, drawing a big circle as if we're stirring a big cauldron. And all the while we're doing this, we're letting our chest, our trunk, our hips follow. We're weight shifting in this big circular motion. And we still want to maintain the 4 points on the floor, all 10 toes, the soles of our feet, so pressing down into the ground. The 2 points under our poles, still pressing deep into the ground. Nice long neck still as you're doing this. 2 more. Last one, pressing the poles into the floor. And we're gonna come back up. Nicely done, everyone. We're going to separate our poles now. We want them to be about hip width apart, maybe a little bit wider. We don't want them too wide because this will be much harder to control. We want them a little bit wider. And what we're going to do here is we're going to move on to our lower limbs, a bit of a warm up. So we're going to press our toes into the floor and lift those heels up off the floor, and then press the heels down and lift the toes up off the floor. And we'll keep repeating this. Pressing into the floor. And let's see if we can switch. So one side has the toes up and the other side the heels. My voice has gone all croaky. I do have a little bit of a cold today. As you can see, unfortunately from my daughter's daycare, those bugs are nasty. Keep going. I'm just going to quickly grab some water. Keep thinking about pedaling the feet into the floor, really connecting, grounding the 4 points into the floor. So even though we're moving our feet, we're still thinking about the 2 points in the pole, the 2 pole points on the floor, pressing deep into the ground. And as we're pedaling our feet, we're really connecting with the floor through our toes, through our heels, depending on where it's moving. We're still sitting up nice and tall, nice tall posture, open chest, long necks. And let's see if we can move on a little bit more from this. And we're going to now brush our foot up off the floor and back. We're brushing the soles of our feet along the floor in order to lift up off the floor. So essentially, we're straightening our knee here, but I don't want to just think straighten the knee. We want to think pressing down into the floor in order to straighten. So brushing into the floor to straighten, and all the while
we are still maintaining our 4-point grounding. So you're thinking about the arms still pressing down into the poles and therefore down into the ground. And we're still thinking about the soles of our feet connecting deep into the earth, even as we're moving. Nicely done. On the next one, we're going to hold and we're going to pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Other side, rushing to lift, pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Again, rushing to pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rushing to lift, pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. Rush to lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Rush to lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower back down. Recheck your position. Hopefully you're still sitting up nice and tall. We're not leaning into our chairs. We're still grounding into the ground, all 4 points, the soles of our feet, our arms, still pressing towards the floor as the gravity is extra heavy today. And from here, we're going to go into some marching. And as we march, I want you to imagine the 2 poles as if they're like joysticks from a game console. You're really thinking about pulling them forward and back, almost like you're driving those toy cranes. I don't know if you know what those are, but I feel like lately, because of the child at home, my mind is always on toys as examples. So as we're doing our marching, you'll notice that I'm using opposite arm to leg to pull and push the poles. And as I'm doing this, I'm not lifting the poles, right? The poles are still connecting to the floor. So no matter what movement we're doing, we're always thinking about the 4-point grounding we talked about at the beginning. You want both the poles to be connected to the floor, pressing down, the soles of our feet pressing down, growing roots into the floor every single time we touch the floor. And so just because we're moving doesn't mean we're going to start to get rid of that grounding we talked about at the beginning. If anything, as we're moving, we want to ground even further for us to hold our balance, for us to be more self-aware, body aware in order to move better. Keep going with the marching. Keep going. Keep going with the marching. Thinking about the long necks, grounding through the floor. And now we're going to take this one step further and do a little bit of a combination. So let's stop the marching for a second. We are now going to go out, out with the poles, followed by the legs. Out, out. And then we're going in with the poles, and in with the legs. So we go out, out. Legs follow, out, out. Poles go in. Legs go in. Again, go out, out. Legs go out, out. Arms go in, legs go in. Keep going. And as we're doing this movement, just like I mentioned before, we still want to think about our 4-point grounding. So just because we're lifting the legs and the poles off the floor doesn't mean that we're going to forget about the grounding. If anything, we're going to work harder at thinking about gravity being nice and heavy, pulling us towards the floor. So it's almost like in order for us to be taller, to stand taller, to sit taller, you're thinking about pressing down into the floor in order to grow taller, if that makes sense. You're pressing down to lengthen. Pressing down into the floor. Think about that 4-point grounding. The soles of your feet connecting deep into the earth. You're pressing down with your arms through the pole, connecting into the earth, breathing. Nicely done, everyone. Pressing down. Now we're going to switch sides. So we're going to go the other way now. Out, 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 in, in, out, 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 in, in. Nicely done. Keep going. In. Think about that 4-point grounding. We're still thinking about pressing our soles of the feet into the ground. Both poles pressing down into the ground. We're pushing through the entire length of the arm. Almost as if gravity is extra heavy in the space that you're in. Good, nicely done. One more. Let's do some lateral weight shifts. We'll stand up in a moment, but let's do one last thing for our trunk. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up those poles nice and wide. So when I say wide, I mean as in it's almost like you're doing a 45-degree angle with your arms. So I'm not out here, that's 90 degrees, but I'm going for about 45 degrees here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some lateral weight shift. I want you to imagine you're sitting on a pressure plate. Okay, there's a pressure plate underneath your bottom, and you're trying to shift all of the weight to one side. And then you're going to distribute the weight back to the middle. And then you're pushing all of your weight to the other side and distributing it back to the middle. And as I'm doing this, I'm still pressing the entire length of my arms into the floor. So the poles are not lifting, the poles are pressing deeper into the ground, if anything, as I'm doing this. And as I weight shift, you'll notice that one side of the pole I'm lengthening because I'm weight shifting this way and I'm pushing in order to keep my balance. I'm pushing one of the poles out as I'm leaning towards that side, and then I come back in. Keep going. I'm just letting someone in from the waiting room. Keep going, keep going. They're thinking about that weight shift as if you're sitting on a pressure plate and you're weight shifting completely to one side, back to the middle, and then to the other side. And your feet are not lifting, they're still grounded into the floor. We're thinking about that 4-point grounding. Both feet are growing roots into the ground. The points of the poles that are touching the floor are also growing roots into the floor. So we're thinking about pressing those arms down as we're doing this weight shift. And you'll notice that my bottom is actually lifting off the seat. So we do want that weight shift through the hips. Thinking about that pressure plate you're sitting on. Nicely done. A few more. Using your arms to kind of pull you, lengthen you towards the side you're weight shifting towards. Keeping both feet flat onto the floor. Nicely done. Okay, we're going to stop here for a second. I'm going to turn my seat sideways because we are now going to move into standing. And before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about our sit-to stands. So for the sit-to stands, you can either use your poles, or if you're more comfortable, say, pressing on the armrest of your chair or the seat of your chair, you can do that. But regardless of which version you do, I do want to show you what we don't want to do. Before I leave the poles for a second, first things I want to mention is, a lot of the times when we stand up, if you start in a position like this, where you're far back in the seat and you're leaning into the chair, your center of gravity is already so far back in the chair that it's actually really challenging to stand up, no matter how strong your legs are. And what ends up happening is you're having to do this and probably pull yourself up using something like a table in front of you. And so we really want to set ourselves up for success by sitting up tall, moving our center of gravity forward in the seat so that our center of gravity is as close to our base of support as possible. So it's much easier and much more efficient for us to stand. And then the next thing is, when we stand, we don't want to just go straight up like this because my center of gravity is not over my base of support. So no matter how strong your legs are, you'll probably just shoot backwards. And so what we want to do is we want to bring our body forward as if someone's grabbed your shirt and they're pulling you forward and you're weight shifting forward over your base of support, and then you push yourself up. So you really want to think about that forward lean. And same as when you're sitting back down, you're sticking your bottom back, but notice how my chest is forward to counterbalance, because if I'm like this, I'll just fall back. So you really want to think about chest forward to counterbalance in order to sit back down. Standing exactly the same. Bring your chest forward in order to stand. And so, with that said, we're going to use our poles today. Or if you're not comfortable using your poles to stand, you're more than welcome to leave them and just use your chair or armrest or whatever you have there. But what we're going to do here is we're going to continue on with that exercise we practiced earlier where we did this forward and backwards motion, if you remember. And so this is the precursor of what we're doing for sit to stands. So you're going to make sure you're sitting forward in your chair, you're nice and tall, and we're going to lean forward such that our bottoms come off the feet. We're going to lean forward over our feet. You're pressing your poles down into the floor, and you can actually bring them forward a little further to make it easier. You're pressing your poles into the floor in order to help you stand. And then we're going to sit down again exactly the same way. Sticking our bottom back, we're pressing the poles into the floor, reaching away to sit back down. We're leaning forward, reaching the poles away in order to bring our center of gravity over our base of support to stand. And then to sit down, sticking our bottoms back, bring the arms forward in order to sit back down. Keep going. Keep going. Just have to blow my nose for a second. Sorry, everyone. Keep going. You're thinking about bringing your weight forward, pushing down into the floor in order to stand. Bring your weight forward to sit. And this doesn't have to be fast. You're welcome to do it slower if you like. And in fact, probably the slower you're doing it, the harder it's going to be. Because you're really not using momentum, but you're using your body mechanics and the strength of your legs to be able to help you stand more efficiently. So really think about that weight shift. You're thinking about bringing your center of gravity over your base of support in order to stand. Nicely done, everyone. And as you stand, you can probably see what I meant earlier about the pole's height needing to be adjusted once we're standing, but that's okay. We'll do that in a second. We're going to practice our sit to stands first. Good. Nicely done, everybody. Really think about the body mechanics. We're stacking our center of gravity on top of our base of support, i.e. our feet, in order to balance to stand. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to stand up if we're on a bit of a diagonal. Now, on your next stand, I want you to stay standing. Move my chair away. If you need to grab some water, please feel free to grab some now, little sips of water. Long-term standing exercises in a moment. Okay. So, now that we're standing, if I turn sideways for a second, you can see that my poles are now too short. So remember in the beginning I mentioned about the poles ideally being around this 90-degree elbow height. So maybe take a moment and adjust your poles if they're not already at the right height. Because when you're sitting and when you're standing, you'll find that the height will have to be adjusted unless you've got one of those poles that don't have adjustments in the height. But you do want your elbows to be ideally around 90 degrees like so. So you can see after I brought them up, it's around 90 degrees. We're aiming for that. And now we're going to re-ground ourselves for a second. Now that we're in standing, it's a slightly different position to sitting. So let's just re-ground. We're going to bring our walking poles out in front of us like our thyroid. You see how they're perpendicular to the floor, so they're not like this and they're not behind us. We want the pole to be perpendicular to the floor, completely vertical. And our elbows are nice and relaxed by our side, about 90 degrees. And from here, we're going to ground ourselves, just like we did in the beginning. We're going to wiggle our 10 toes just for a moment so we can remind our brains where they are. And we're going to flatten all 10 toes into the floor and press both soles of the feet into the earth. And we're going to imagine there's roots growing out of the bottom of our feet, anchoring us deep into the ground. And now we're going to press our arms down towards the floor. The entire length of the arms are pressing down. So not just the hands where the handles are, but I want to think the entire arm. So almost like the gravity in the room has gone very heavy and your limbs are weighing you down. You want the arms to be heavy, pressing down into the ground. And by doing so, it's almost like by you pressing yourself down into the ground, pressing the arms into the ground, you're lengthening your spine more. You're growing taller as a result of you pressing your arms down deep into the earth. Come back to facing. And this is the 4-point grounding we were saying earlier about our feet anchoring down into the earth and our arms also pressing, anchoring down into the earth through our poles. And from here, maintaining our grounding position, we're going to weight shift forward and back. Let me turn sideways so you can see me. I'm going to weight shift forward and back. And when I weight shift, what I'm not doing is I'm not doing this. I'm not bending my knees or skipping my hips forward. I want my entire body to be moving almost like a reverse pendulum. I want the entire body to be weight shifting, and the only pivot point is basically from your feet. And while this might sound scary, we've got our poles here to really help us as we're doing this weight shift to maintain our balance. And it's really important that we maintain the same 4-point grounding principles we talked about a moment ago as we're doing this, because if we're now starting to pull up through the feet or the poles, we're going to lose our balance. And so you're thinking about pressing down into the ground in order to stay upright and balanced. Weight shifting. Pressing your weight forward and back, almost like you're standing on a pressure plate and you're pressing the weight forward and back. Nicely done, everyone. And as we're doing this movement, you should feel yourself growing taller because you're grounding and pressing your arms down into the ground and your feet down into the ground to facilitate that tall upwards growth through the spine. Nicely done. Now let's try the same thing going side to side. I'm going to face you again so you can see. You might want to make your feet a tiny bit wider for this one. You don't have to, but it might be easier to have it wider. And just make sure your poles are wide enough that they're not like in a diagonal like this. You want them to be completely upright and perpendicular to the floor. And what we're going to do here is we're going to weight shift side to side. And because we're maintaining our 4-point grounding that we talked about earlier, you can see as I weight shift side to side, my poles are now moving with me because I'm still pressing the entire length of the arms down into the floor. I'm weight shifting side to side. Nicely done, everyone. Weight shifting. So we don't want to be moving the poles like this, but we're maintaining the same points of contact in the floor The only thing that's changed is that we're weight shifting side to side, and so naturally, our arms will have to move as well, and therefore the poles are moving sideways, but we're not doing this kind of movement. We're letting the movement from the poles be quite natural, pressing down into the ground. Nicely done. And now we're going to try some weight shifting in order to step. So we're going to bring the poles back in a little bit. And now we've done the forward and backwards weight shifting and the side to side, and we're going to kind of put that together. So we're going to weight shift to one side in order to lift our foot and step forward. And then we're coming back. Same to the other side. Weight shifting away from the foot to clear it from the floor and taking a step. Taking a step. I'll turn sideways so you can see. Taking a step. And you'll notice it's opposite arm to leg as I'm doing this. And even though we're now moving outside of our regular basic support, we're still thinking about that 4-point grounding. Grounding through our feet deep into the earth, grounding through the poles. We're still pressing the entire length of the arms down into the ground. And it's like you're pressing down with so much effort and force that you're actually standing up a little taller. Breathing as you do this. Weight shifting forward, coming back. Nicely done, everyone. Weight shifting forward and coming back. Nicely done. More. Good. Coming back to the middle. Let's try a bit of a squat variation now. We're going to bring our sticks forward a bit more, our poles a little further forward. And what we're going to do here is we're still maintaining our 4-point grounding, pressing our feet into the ground, pressing the arms down into the floor. And we're going to stick our bottom back, and we're going to go into a squat, and we're going to come back up. So you're pressing down into the ground, and you're letting your arms drive forward as you stick your bottom back. Nicely done. Think about the 4-foot grounding, pressing both feet down into the ground, pressing the poles into the floor, pushing the poles away from you as you send your bottom back. Pressing the poles away as you send your bottom back. Keep going. I'm just letting somebody in from the waiting room. Keep going. Pressing the arms away from you as you stick your bottom back. Oh, excuse my coughing, my goodness. On the next one, we're going to hold our squat for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing back up. Again, sending our bottoms back. We hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing back up. Last one. Squatting down, holding 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing back up. Back to our regular squats. This time adding in a circle as we stand. Pushing our arms forward to squat, circling to come back up. Think about that 4-point grounding still. Growing roots into the ground through the soles of our feet and through the bottom of the poles. Nicely done. 2 more. Shake it out, shake out those legs, shake out those arms, grab some water if you need. Okay. Now, I'm going to stand to the side of the room. If you're grabbing water, not to worry. I will explain while you're having a sip of water. We're going to now put some of those things that we did all together, and we're going to practice lateral traveling. And so this is what it's going to look like. I've got my poles in front of me and my feet flat on the floor, and I'm going to step out into a squat, step in, and stand back up. Well, essentially, I'm adding in lateral movement with my squats. Going down, together, stay nice and low as if the ceiling has gone really low, and then stand back up. Again, I go squat, nice and low, maintain that same height as our second foot comes in to stand up. So we want to try to maintain that height when we're here and we bring the second leg in. What we don't want to see is this, standing up every time. We want to go low, stay low, and then stand up. Go low, stay low, stand up. Go low, stay low, stand up. Okay, join me here if you haven't already. Low, low, stand up. Nicely done. We go low, low, and up. Nicely done. Low, low, and up. We look like we're crab walking. Low, low, and up. Low, low, and up. Nicely done. Really think about maintaining that same height. It's almost like the ceiling in your room has gone lower, and you have to stay there until your legs are back together. We go low, low, and up. Low, low, and up. Nicely done. Low, low, and up. Breathing. Low, low, and up. Low, low, and up. Again, last time. Low, and up. Low, low, and up. Low, low, and up. And shake it out. Nicely done, everyone. Okay. Let's do some hip conditioning. We're almost at the end of the class, but I want to make sure we're getting some strength work as well. So we're going to bring the poles a little bit wider again. You can see it's wider than my feet and my hips. But what I don't want is for them to be so wide that they're on an angle. So I want the poles to be wide, but you can see that it's still perpendicular to the floor, so it's straight up and down. And from here, we're going to weight shift. And we're going to go into some leg lifts, up and down. You can bring this up a little wider to help you with your balance if you like. And now, as I do this up and down lift, the goal here is I'm going to try to make my body as still as I can. So the only thing moving is that leg, but I'm trying to keep everything else from moving. So if I took a big sheet and I covered your leg, and I can only see the rest of your body, it shouldn't look like we're moving at all. We want to be completely still. You're pressing down into the pole to help you balance. Lift, lift, lift. Nicely done. And let's switch sides. Bring your poles out to the other side. Again, go lift, lift. And remember, we don't want everything else to do this. We want our entire body to stay completely still. So if I cover the moving leg with a big sheet, it shouldn't look like you're moving at all. Keeping that leg straight if you can. You want the heel to be, the outside of the foot to be the one going up towards the ceiling. Nicely done. Other side again. This time, if you're feeling brave, you're going to try to lift the opposite arm to legs with you. But as you're lifting, you want the entire body to still be not moving. We don't want to be like this. We want the entire body to be completely strong and still. Only the arm and leg moving. Breathing. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nicely done. Other side. We're gonna go lift. Option of having the opposite arm up if you like, but the one that's staying stationary, make sure you're pressing down into the floor to help you balance. And we don't want the body to be doing this. We want everything to be completely still except for the arm and leg moving. Breathing. Pressing down with that supporting arm. Good. Let's go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and shake it out. Nicely done. I'm going to turn sideways. Now we're going to go to the back. So I'm going to move my arms a little further forward so I can lean a little bit. And I'm going to keep pressing my arms down into the floor. I'm going to lift my back leg up into the air. And just like before, I don't want the body to be doing this. We want the entire body to be as still as possible. And we just want that leg to be moving. Just that leg. We don't want the entire body to be doing this. Think about pressing down through your pose into the floor. Really ground yourself, like we mentioned earlier. Really ground yourself. Ground that supporting foot into the ground. Only thing that should be moving is that back leg. So if I cover the back leg with a big sheet, it shouldn't look like the rest of our body is moving at all. Breathing. Nicely done. We go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake it out. Let's try the other side. Same thing. Really think about grounding down with those arms. We don't want the arms to be moving up and down. We want to ground. And we're doing the same thing on the other side. Lift and lower. And as we do this, we're really pushing the length of our arms down to the ground in order to help us stay balanced. And we don't want the body to be moving like this. We want everything to be still and controlled. So that if I covered your moving leg with a sheet, it shouldn't look like the rest of your body is moving at all. So we don't want this. We want nice and strong like a statue. Easier said than done, I know. This one always gets really hard after the second round. Nicely done, everybody. We'll have legs of steel after this. We go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake it out. Shake it out. Nicely done. Okay, good news is you've done those 2 rounds. The bad news is we got 2 rounds left. Okay, but this time we have an added challenge. We're going to lift the opposite arm to leg if you want. You don't have to, but the most important thing is the arm that you're not moving, or both arms, you're trying to press down into the ground in order to help you with your balance. So you're doing opposite arm to leg. And just like before, if I cover your moving arm and leg with a big sheet, it shouldn't look like you're moving at all. So if you're like this, maybe keep your arm down because we want to really hold that control. You're grounding into the floor with that single leg and that single arm, so we're not moving all over the place. Nicely done. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Woo, nicely done. Shake out those legs. Okay, other side, last time. Here we go. We're lifting opposite arm to leg. So remember, if you're lifting opposite arm to leg and you're like this, maybe have the arm down, because I would rather you be stable rather than lift up, but you're shaking all over the place and not able to hold that position. So we want it to be challenging, but not impossible to do. So you really want your body to be completely controlled, such that if I covered your moving arm and leg with a sheet, it shouldn't look like the rest of the body is moving at all. Good, nicely done. We go for 10, 9, 8, keep breathing, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and shake it out. Oh my goodness, nicely done. Nicely done. Ooh, let's shake it off. We're gonna go through some pedal of the feet. Go side so you can see. We're pedaling through the feet. The poles stay on the floor. We're just moving them from the top as we're pedaling through the feet. Kind of like an elliptical. Pedaling through the feet. Really think about the 4-point grounding we talked about earlier. Even though we're doing this kind of active rest position, we're thinking about pressing our weight down into the ground through the feet and through the poles. The entire length of the arms still pressing down. We don't want shoulders up here. We want shoulders heavy, arms heavy. Nicely done, everybody. Breathing, pressing down. Good. Keep going. I'm going to turn to face you. Make sure you're pulling the arms back as far as they're going forward. We don't want just one side pulling. We want both to be equal. Big ranges in the arms. Go forward and back. Pull, 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 pull. Nicely done. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Last bit before we do our cool down stretches. We're just going to practice walking in the space that we've got with our poles, thinking about the grounding we talked about earlier. The 4-point grounding, we're thinking about our feet pressing deep into the ground, the arms, the entire length of the arms pressing deep into the ground as we walk. And there's lots of different ways you can walk with poles. You can either have the poles directly in front of you the entire time, or if you feel like it's more natural, you can also have the poles go behind you every single time you walk. It's entirely up to you, but regardless of what position you're doing to walk around the space, I want you to really think about activating this grounding we talked about, this 4-point grounding as you're walking in the space. You're really thinking about pressing your feet deep into the earth, pressing the entire length of the arms down into the ground. So you're really connected to the floor. So we're not just walking and lifting the poles and thinking up, 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 but you're actually thinking down, 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 down in order to stand up tall. So you're thinking down to go up, down to grow in your posture, down to grow in your posture. You're thinking about pressing the entire length of the arms down into the floor, such that you've got long necks, tall shoulders. Pressing down in order to go up. Pressing down in order to stay upright. Nicely done. Let's come back to the center. We're going to put one pole down on the floor. We're going to grab one pole. We're going to hold on to it relatively wide. Our feet are going to be wide as well. And we're going to bring those arms up overhead, holding onto the poles. And we're going to just do a big stretch to the side. Almost like one side of the pole is getting weighed down with some dumbbells and it's pulling you over because it's nice and heavy. Back up to the top and to the other side. You're thinking about almost like there's a weight attached to the end of that pole and it's pulling you down. Nicely done. Back up and drop the arms for a second. Bring the arms back up. I'm going to step forward a little bit and we're going to go into a bit of a twist. Nice and gentle. We're just twisting the pole around us. Keeping our feet grounded. You'll notice that my feet are relatively wide. And if you feel up to it, you can take that a little further and add in some rotation with the feet. You can see that I'm kind of pivoting on my feet as I rotate. Nice big motion. Nicely done. Okay, and we're going to hold on to the stick again, and we're going to imagine we're kayaking. We're going to do a circle to one side and a circle to the other. You're thinking about dipping down. Whoops, I need to step forward. My room is a little too narrow. Maybe I'll go sideways. You're imagining you're kayaking to either side, so there's this kind of downward rotation of your torso here. Downward rotation of the torso. Nice and big like you're kayaking. Nicely done. And we're going to grab onto both of our poles again. We're going to have one leg forward, one leg back into our calf stretch. So the front leg is bent and the back leg is straight. You're really trying to straighten that back leg and you're trying to press that heel down into the ground. So the objective is trying to get that back heel into the floor while keeping the knee straight. And you'll feel a stretch in the calf muscle there. If you're not able to straighten your knee at all and you're like this, you probably need to bring the leg in a bit more. Or if your heel is completely on the floor and you don't feel anything, you probably need to step out a little further. Nicely done, breathing. And let's switch legs. Same thing on the other side, bending that front knee, straightening the back knee, and you're trying to dig that back heel into the floor. And you should feel a stretch in that back calf muscle. If your heel is already on the floor and you're not feeling anything, you'll need to walk that leg further out. Or if your back knee is completely bent and you're not able to straighten it at all, you might need to bring that leg in a bit more, and you should feel a stretch in the calf muscle. Good, come back up. Let's do a thigh stretch. You have a couple of options for this. The first one is holding both of your sticks together like so. And you're going to grab your foot and you're going to pull it towards your bottom. Try to keep your knees in one line so your knee's not out here, but in one line. And you're going to push your bottom forward to stretch. Or if that's too much for you and you can't hold on, that's okay. What you're going to do is place your foot onto a chair behind you. And just like before, you're keeping your knees in one line. Don't let your knee come out here. Keep your knees in one line and push your hips forward, and you should feel a stretch as well. And the higher the seat of the chair, the more of a stretch you'll feel. Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So again, option one, holding your poles together. Hold onto your foot, pull it towards your bottom as long as your knees are in one line. Don't let your knee come out here. Make sure your knees are in one line. Or if that's too difficult, place your foot onto a chair behind you. Keep your knees in one line and push your hips forward. Same thing. And again, the higher the seat, the more of a stretch you'll feel. I'm surprised my voice only went croaky once. It's that season again. Hopefully everyone's getting their flu shots, just in case. Okay, and relax that leg. We're gonna have the poles nice and wide, the legs nice and wide. And we're gonna just lean from side to side like so. So you're gonna stick your hip out to one side and then to the other side. You should feel a stretch on the inner thigh. If I turn sideways for a second, You're sticking your bottom back, so you should feel a stretch on the inner thighs. Nicely done, everyone. And coming back up. Well done, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for exercising with poles. We've gone over time today. My apologies about that, but I hope you had some fun, and I will see you next week. Same place, same time. We won't go over this time, and hopefully I won't be sick anymore. Woohoo! Thank you, everyone.